Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with today's video. Last week when I did 193, I thought I had a big winner, and I did. The one that had that southwestern look, and I'm going to show you how far I've gotten on that. But this week I've got another one for 194, and it's called Sparkling Star. It's from The Love of Quilting, January to February 2023, page 50, and it's fun. If you're a beginning quilter, a beginning sewer, you're really gonna like this. Here's an example from the book of the way it looks, and look how you have it's like the spinning stars, and they have it as the sparkling stars, and I just thought of it as the beautiful stars. And I'm just going to go ahead and start and show you the first patches that I put together. This was my sample. I wouldn't give anything for the samples when I do those because they either go together really well or they don't. Or they iron well or they don't. My machine works right or it doesn't. But this time, the stars were aligned. And this is what I've got. And you're going to love it because it only has squares and rectangles. And they're all based on 2.5 inches. So this is the one. And it's got 4 separate blocks put together. And everyone's the same. Here in this corner is the first block, another block, another block, and another block. And we're going to make each one of these individually, and then we'll put 4 together as we go. And it's just, this was so much fun because I said, okay, I think I'm going to do something with this. And I had been wanting to make a runner, and that's what I did. I made my next pieces and I made those into a runner, and now I'm going to do one that I think I want to make into a bag. And I've picked these colors. And there was my primary color. And those are going to be the 4 colors. 2 of the stars are going to be on each side of the bag. And then I'll have it put together. This one just blossomed. It was so neat. So enough of that. Here we go. I said we were working with 2.5 inch pieces. 2.5 inch. And so we're going to have a light, and we're going to have a dark, and your light's going to be cream or white. And for these, my colors did really well with sort of a tan, a light tan color. So this was a 20 inch across piece, and totally it was 40, which would be the width of your fabric. And so I laid those down. Most of my fabric, I rinse it out in the washing machine and then dry quick and catch it before it gets totally dry, so you don't have as many wrinkles, so it's easy to press. And I do it with all my fabric. Then I don't have to wonder, oh, did I rinse that one out and get some of that stabilizer out of it. And this is that 20 inch, but it's doubled. And if you look, I can cut. This is 2.5. This is a 4 inch. There's 2 of them. There's a 4 inch, 4.5 inch. Go back, make sure you get 4.5. 4.5. So that's going to give me 2 here, 2 here. And then make 2.5 inch squares. And then make another 2.5 inch square. And right there, you've made one of your blocks. As we go, you'll see. You would do the same thing with your dark strips of fabric. You'd lay them down just like this. You could, if you're very good at it, you would get where you could maybe stack them on top of each other, and then cut your 4.5, your 4.5, your 2.5, and your 2.5. And I have a piece left on the end, and I can use that for either one of them because it's a nice piece. All right. Now, you're going to have 2.5 inch squares, 4 lights, and 4 print. So here are my 4 print, and here are my 4 light. Okay, now I'm going to stick a little piece in there because your will need to draw a perpendicular line. We have done this over and over. That's why it's so popular and it works out so pretty. And on this one, instead of putting a line on both sides, you're just going to put it on one side. And it doesn't matter which one that you pick to choose it to be, because this is going to be our stitching line and this is going to be the cutting line on one side. Okay, we're not going to cut off on both sides like we've done. So your light colors 2.5 squares are like that. Same thing is done to your small 2.5 inch print ones. And when you see mine, I actually used a marker, 2 different markers, so you could see them. But don't use a marker. Try and stick with something like a mechanical pencil. All right, so we have those. Then the next thing we're going to have is we're going to have our 4.5 by 2.5. And there's nothing that you have to do to those. They're right there, and they're right there. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to put our light blocks with our dark print and our dark 2.5 inch pieces with our light background color that we've cut. All right, so the pieces are all coming together. We're going to go to the sewing machine. Is this not sweet? I'm telling you, I'm already to the sewing machine. Okay, I've already started, and I've taken the long dark and the little 2.5 inch, and I've sewn those together. So I've got those ready. I've got the seams open. I'm going to leave those sit. All right, now take one of your long light ones, and you take one of your darks. Now watch the way this is going to go. It's going to turn this way. You're going to set it so that your diagonal line goes from your left up to your right in the center. And if you remember, I said one of them is going to be your stitch line. That's the diagonal this time. You're going to stitch on the diagonal. So just take and bring it over to your sewing machine. And then carefully get it started. Right, and then stop. Now I actually did decrease my stitch because this is such a small line that you're doing. I decreased that, and then I didn't get in a big hurry. But once you start this, and if you're working on several of them, you can do some machine stitching. The fat quarters work really good for this pattern, and I found out that you could have at least 3 blocks of your print. If you're doing a print fat quarter, you could get at least 3 blocks out of that. Well, when they made their quilt, which has got 63 blocks this time, just like the other one did, I just got off, and it's 7 by 9. They used every color had at least 3 or 4 of the same block in it, the same fabric. All right, so I'm just going to gently start going, catch it, and go down. I'm talking so it's not straight, but I think it's not going to matter. All right, let's lay it back down again. Here's your center. Lay the block there. It's easier for the foot to catch if you start from the middle and go out to the point. And I have a knocking going on in there. I have cleaned it. I've said that to you before. Well, I made sure I cleaned it really good, my machine. All right. Now, if I hadn't done the other 4, you could have done those at the same time, and you would have put a light one on a dark, and then you could have done have all 8 of them. Now what we want to do is, that was our diagonal. We made an extra line on the outside because we're going to remove that part. We're going to take our scissors. And this is really nice because long time ago when I started saying the olden days, but when I started, you would actually cut out your triangles and then sew the triangles on. And then I like to open at the seam, and that makes this really lay nicely on this one because you're only going to have one seam that you're going to have to match. So we're going to go ahead and go through and do these 4, and I'm going again. And in between times, if you want, especially if you have your sewing machine sitting there, your sewing machine, your iron, you can use your iron and press. Don't iron it, but press down and then pick it up. And that's really worked well with this because that's what I did. I took a stack back to the iron, and there's no puppy dog ears or kitten tails or ears that you got to cut off this time. That's another nice thing. Okay, and now I've got my 2 sets, and you can see my contrast between the light and the dark and the light. Now, I still take and set a sample out, or a paper or the magazine, so I can look at the way they sit. And you say, well, you can't mess that up. Guess what? All right, here we go. The top left corner, we're going to put the gray triangle there, and then we're going to grab the other one, and we're going to take the long side and set it against there. That's going to be one segment. We're going to do the same thing. This one's going to go up, and this is going to go like that. But we can actually, I'm just doing this just to show you how it goes together, because you'll notice that all of the blocks are exactly the same. There's no trick to these like there was yet the other one that we did last time, that neat block. So that once you get the idea of the way they go, it's just a matter of sewing them all together, and then you just turn the block. So they're all the same. So then take and sew it together, join them. There's nothing that you have to do. You can make sure your seam's open, and then just lay it down. And make sure I do have to be careful because I get to talk and I say that. And make sure that I've got them laying right before I start to stitch. I don't like, nobody does, to have to take out, okay? I can do one. They're going to look exactly the same. We're going to do 2. Now I didn't do as many hand stitched ones with this as I did with the other because I didn't have time. But it goes together well. Right? So all of those 4 segments are going to make my box, my first block, block. Okay. There was one, and I'm going to finger press it open. Now these I did, usually when I got to this place, I did go and press them nice and flat. There's 2 of them. This is really nice. And I keep talking about the baby blanket that we want to make. I think now we have finally decided, because we think the baby's going to be a star, so we're going to make a star quilt for this baby. So now we've got all of them. They're all exactly the same. So it's a matter of just putting them in place where they need to, where they will be. That one's there. The little flame is right up there. And that one's right there. And then finally we've got the last one. And let's see, what did I do? There it goes. I get so used to one being wrong. All right, now what we want to do, and usually we go across, so I'm going to go across and I'm going to take and put these two together. But here again, there's no seam that you have to match. Just try and keep your seams open. Just lay it in place. We're only going to have one place that we're going to have when we put these others together. And this one is off for some reason. So this one I feel pretty confident I can just trim that off. Get it back where it was. There it is. So I'm going to lay those. Everything's open. Nice. Press that open. And press this one open. And when we lay those, we can see that that's perfect. All of my little spin-offs are right there. Here's the only place that you have to match. Take and lay them over each other to make a star. Then if you've got this one open, you can do it two ways. You can either take this side and fold it to the right and fold the back one to the left, and they'll lock into place when you get ready to put them together, and then just pin them. Or if you open them, you can make sure that they're open. Open the other one, lay them on top of each other so they look like that line's sitting right the same on both of them. Either way that you do it, and then pin it so it'll stay in place. And get your edges together. Okay, now, like I always tell you, here's the magic. When you open it up, you have made the star, and it is so pretty. And there's so many things you can do, so many kinds of material. But I want you do want you to see that right there, that's the only place where I had to make sure that the pieces came together was when we put the top and the bottom together at the end, and it's ready to be pressed. And to bring this to an end of this great little video, I want to show you the table runner that I worked on. It's got 5 of the blocks, 3 dark and 2 lights. Then I just took an 1.5 inch strip of dark, about 1 inch of the light, because I just used what I had, and then I put about a 2-inch border all the way around, and it's pinned, all ready to go on the quilting machine once I get a pattern in my mind. And finally, last week, we worked on that great one that had that southwestern look, and it was reds. It was different shades of reds, and I used the blue of my orphan fabrics and made the 63, which is 7 times 9 blocks. And then somebody suggested putting a border around it, so I just picked up the dark And I had fun getting the back. The back is a print with little blue flowers in it. And so now you can see I've got my sandwich made. I've got my back, my batting, and my top. And I can now do it with pins. And so as I go, I take out the pins as I come to the block I'm going to do. I hope you enjoyed this video today. I think it's just beautiful, those stars that you get, and you can come up with so many ideas. It's an 8-inch block. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, if you saw something that you want to do, please hit subscribe and like, and leave comments to let me know you've been here. Thank you.